Don't you want to just reach to the screen and grab a big handful? Don't worry, I do too. Hey friends, this is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead. I'm in the kitchen with you again. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make lunch lady brownies. These are some amazing brownies. We're in that mode where we're trying to use up eggs. Brownies is a good way to use up some eggs. So here's how we do it. In this bowl, we have 1 cup of granulated sugar. We have 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. We have a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. I'm going to mix the cocoa powder with the sugars. That way they work as an abrasive to break up any lumps in the brown sugar and the cocoa powder. I've taught you guys this trick before if you've been with me for a while. Now I'm just taking a whisk and kind of whisking it together just a little bit to break up all those lumps. Now, the reason these are called lunch lady brownies is because years ago, these were the kind of brownies that lunch ladies made in lunchrooms. When I went to elementary school, this was not the kind of brownies we had. When I went to elementary school, if you wanted a little something sweet with your lunch, it was a little Debbie cake. Which I didn't mind when I was little because I loved Nutty Bars when I was little. And zebra cakes. But on the other hand, the school that I graduated from was a tiny little Christian school, which isn't so tiny these days, but it was when I went there. We had a graduating class of 21 students. Yes, I said 21 students. My Spanish class, there was only me and one other person in that Spanish class. It was hilarious, but it was awesome. It was an awesome school. Now they, on the other hand, did have stuff like this. Now, I almost forgot to tell you, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. You want to line a 13 by 9 pan with parchment paper. You don't have to do that step, but it's going to make it much easier on you later. And you want to spray or grease, however you choose to do it, your parchment paper with cooking spray or however you choose to do it. So now to this mixture that's all mixed together now, I am adding 1 cup, which is 2 sticks of melted butter that I have melted and cooled down a little bit. And as you can see, even some of it has re-solidified, but that's fine because you want it to be cooled down, because otherwise it's going to scramble your eggs, and you don't want scrambled eggs in your brownies. Now you want to mix that in just a little bit. But that Christian school, they actually made brownies. There was a little short woman that worked there. Everybody called her Tiny. And she would spend all morning making brownies, making cookies, making cake. I'll never forget, not too long after I graduated, my oldest sister did her student teaching there at that school. And she came home on her first day and she's like, lunch was different. And I'm like, okay, why was lunch different? She's like, it said on the menu cake for dessert. And she said, I'm thinking a little Debbie cake. And she said, no, it was an actual slice of chocolate layer cake. And I just started laughing. And I'm like, yep, Tiny's still there. It was awesome. It was an awesome school to go to. Now, we're going to add in those 4 large eggs that I was telling you that brownies use up a lot of eggs. It takes 4 large eggs. So I'm going to add those in. And you want to get those started stirring in. Break up your yolks real good and get those started mixing in. If you have to switch back to your whisk to get them nice and mixed in, then that's fine. Now, this may seem a little odd, but it adds such an amazing flavor. You want to do 3, yes, I said 3 teaspoons. And mine are roughly measured. You guys know I don't measure vanilla. Of vanilla extract. That extra vanilla just works so well and tastes so great with it. So now you want to finish mixing that in until it's nice and mixed together. These are super easy. But when you measure out that cocoa powder, don't put it away yet. Because remember, if you've had Lunch Lady brownies before, you know Lunch Lady brownies have a frosting. And it's not just any frosting. It's a wonderful frosting that is put on while the brownie is still warm and seeps down into that brownie. I can't wait to eat these. This is a chocoholic dream right here. Now on this piece of wax paper, we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to go ahead and dump all that in. And just mix all that flour into your wet ingredients, into your chocolate mixture. And it will start getting pretty stiff. But you want a good stiff brownie batter. You guys know that in the past I've done brownie recipes. And I've always split the fat. I've always done half oil and half butter, or all oil, because it makes for a moister, fudgier brownie. And you saw that I did all butter in this case, which I've told you makes for a drier brownie. That's done on purpose. Because with these brownies, because you ice them while they're hot, and that icing seeps in, it makes everything moist and right. So you're fine to do it that way with these brownies. Now once you've got all that mixed in, and it's nice and smooth, you may see a few little lumps in there. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll melt in. Now we're just going to put it into our 13 by 9 greased pan that we have lined with parchment. Like I said, you don't have to do that step, but it's going to make it much easier on you later to be able to cut it and get it out of the pan. It's going to make it much easier because that parchment paper will work as a sling to help pull it out and be able to get nice clean slices. Nobody wants the brownies to tear up. And also I find that parchment paper lining a brownie pan helps your brownies to bake much more evenly. Now you want to spread it out to the sides and into the corners. You want to make sure you spread it out really good. Now we are going to pop this into a 350-degree oven until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out with moist crumbs. Not wet batter, not dry, but with moist crumbs. And about halfway through the process, for perfection in baking, about halfway through the bake time, which should be at about 10 to 12 minutes, you want to take the brownies off the bottom rack. You want to put them on the top rack and let them finish up there. That way they bake more evenly. I'll be back and show you what you do next when these come out of the oven. These beauties are out of the oven. When I tested it with a toothpick, it came out with moist crumbs. And you want to bake these for about 25 to 30 minutes. Oddly specific, mine baked for 27 minutes exactly. And at that point, they were perfect. And see, when you push on them, they still feel a little gooey, but that will finish up with carryover cook. But you do not want to let these cool much. You do not want to let these cool much at all. We're only going to let them cool for about 10 minutes before we put the frosting on them. So you want to make sure that you make your frosting while these are cooling for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes though. So now I'm going to get started on my frosting. You want to use a mixer for this. I'm just using a hand mixer to show you just how easy it is. I've got a pinch of salt and a half a stick, which is 1/4 cup of unsalted butter. And to that, I am going to add 1/4 cup of cocoa powder and 1/4 cup of milk. And we're going to mix that together. Now you want to scrape down your bowl. Now that that's all mixed together, you want to scrape down your bowl. And you will probably see a few little butter lumps in there. That's fine. You're not done mixing. This is going to be an absolutely delicious frosting. And when you put it on warm brownies and it soaks down in, starts to melt a little and soaks down in, it's unbelievable. Now, we are going to add 1 teaspoon, roughly measured in my case, of vanilla extract. And we are going to start adding in 3 cups of powdered sugar. But we are going to add it in 3 parts. So I'm going to add about a cup at a time and mix it thoroughly after each. Now that the first increment's in, you want to scrape down your bowl. And as you can see, this frosting is coming together extremely fast. Extremely fast, which is what you need. Now we added in our 2nd cup, and I will show you what it looks like when we get all 3 increments mixed in thoroughly. Now we're all ready. And as you can see, it's a very stiff frosting. That's what you want, because like I said, you're spreading it on hot brownies. So it is going to melt just a little bit. So it's going to become easy to spread. So you don't want it thoroughly spreadable, because it's going to make itself spreadable. And this frosting is so delicious. You could sit down and eat it by the spoonfuls. Now we've pulled our hot brownies over here, and we're going to just start glopping it on and spreading it. And you'll watch it melt. You'll watch it start to melt. And oh, is it a glorious thing. Now I've got the majority of it glopped on. So now you just want to start slowly spreading it. And you can see it start melting. As you're starting to spread it, you can see it start melting. And that's what you want it to do. As I told you, you don't have to worry about it being super spreadable. So if it seems a little thick, you don't need to add any more milk or anything like that, because it's going to become super spreadable. Because see, you can see it already starting to melt. As it hits those hot brownies, it's already starting to melt. And already starting to become beautiful. My mouth is watering as I do this. Like I said, this is a chocoholic's dream. Now I'm going to scrape out the rest of my frosting, because this has a good layer of frosting on it. I'm going to scrape out the rest of my frosting out of my bowl. And like I said, it's very thick, so it's harder to scrape out, but as you can see, it's loosening beautifully. You're watching it become very shiny. Where it was very matte, you're watching it become very shiny. This is beyond belief for a chocolate lover. Now you want to let these cool completely. I know it's going to be hard, because they would be wonderful warm, but they would probably fall apart on you. And also you want to give the frosting a chance to seep in and just make them even better. So you want these to cool completely before you cut them. Then we'll be back, and I'll let Jason show you just how amazing Lunch Lady Brownies can be.
All right, I get the pleasure of tasting this awesome Lunch Lady Brownie recipe. Look at that. It's a little blurry, but it's good. It's delicious. You understand. That's so good. Such a rich, chocolatey, dense, just beautiful brownie, but it's not heavy. It's like the brownie itself is dense, but it's not a heavy feel. It's awesome. Angela Kay did awesome brownies. Awesome brownies. If you're a chocoholic, you're going to want these, because this will fix your chocolate cravings in about 10 seconds. It's so good. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That one's Angela Kay. We love you guys. God bless you. Goodbye.